वन्दे मातरं सुजलां सुफलां मलयजशीतलां शस्यश्यामलां मातरं वन्दे मातरं शुभ्रजोत्स्ना पुलकितयामिनी पूर्णकुसुमिता सुधरयोषिणी सुहासिनी सुमधुरभाषिणी सुखदां वरदां मातरं वन्दे मातरं वन्दे मातरम्।
Vande Mataram Group is an initiative of students of IIT Madras. The group aims to inculcate the feeling of patriotism in the young hearts. Vande Mataram Group is an initiative of students of IIT Madras. The group aims to inculcate the feeling of patriotism in the young hearts and to sensitize the student community about India's rich cultural, economic, social, scientific and technological heritage, its relevance today and thoughts on rural. With this little introduction about the Vande Mataram Group, I would like to introduce our guest professor, Vaidyanathan. Vaidyanathan sir is Professor of Finance and Control at IIM Bangalore. He has been named as one of the best 10 professors at IIMs by Business Today magazine. He is consultant for HLL, LIC, ITC, BPL, World Bank, Goldman Sachs, Shriram Group, Dalmia Group, Ministry of Finance, IDBI, etc. and a number of commercial banks too. He is also the member of Technical Committee on Market Intelligence of SEBI and Standing Advisory Committee on Database of the Indian Economy of the RBI. Professor Vaidyanathan is also the author of the book India Unin about unincorporated sector in the Indian economy, and he is currently working on the book Black Money and Tax Havens and India's Wealth Abroad. Welcome you, sir. Now I would request Dr. Tenmuri M to welcome our guest on behalf of IIT Madras by presenting the fruit basket.
खड़ा ही रहना पड़ेगा मेरे को।
Thank you. Now I would request Professor Vaidyanathan to address the audience on Making India.
So good evening, friends. A lot of technological challenges we have started this. When our friend Shipra wrote me a mail, I was a bit puzzled because I do not know. Some of you may remember, a couple of months before only I came here and gave a talk on another theme, right? But she told this is Vande Mataram Group, I got very interested. This is something very innovative and something new. So I thought when a group like that is enthusiastic, we should do something on our side. Of course, my teacher, when I was in PG, he used to always say, never address a group before lunch. They will be hungry. Never address them after lunch. They will be drowsy. And never address them in the evening. They will be restless. Also on a Friday, I am breaking all those rules now because of the thing. I will maybe some 45 minutes or something I will take, and then we can take some questions. Right? And to start with, the whole idea of making India after 67 years of independence is something very, if you ask me honestly, it's a very sad state of affairs. Not something, if it were discussed in 55 or 60, 1955 or 60, it would have been more appropriate. Not in 2015. But anyhow, somewhere we have to start. So the first is, very briefly, where do we stand? The global situation is in a very, very fragile thing. And not very good actually global economic situation itself. If you just want to have a, we will have a very quick look at, this is my book, very important. The best, what I call Uttamam is you must buy and read it. And Madhyamam is you just buy, I don't care whether you, because I can't tell my students that I have to read anything. So I can't tell you to, reading is gone now. Reading is gone, writing is also gone. So everybody wants only what we call MCQ. That just to give, we will take. You may ask them to write 2-3 pages, dangerous these days. They will take me to Human Rights Commission. Teacher is asking us to write 4 pages, right? And evening Arnab Goswami will say, write the IIM Don harassing students. Anyhow, this is a book and you would benefit. Many of the items which we are discussing is indicated here. This was published this year only. So globally, this is what is happening actually. What is called the global crisis, or world is undergoing a significant and dramatic change. If you go back to 1990, then of course most of you would have been in school. The G7, I'm sure all of you would have heard about G7 in some context or other, had 51% of the global GDP. And emerging markets, primarily consisting of India, China, Brazil and Indonesia. These are the 4 major emerging markets. In terms of pure numbers, they had something like 36% of the global GDP. Global GDP is in terms of something like a global income, like national income at the global level. That PPP is, it's a technical thing in terms of adjusting for purchasing power parity between countries, because all countries don't have the same purchasing power. So comparison will not be meaningful. That is the reason why this is done. Like in Bangalore, I can get a servant maid for, let's say, 4,000, 3,000 to 4,000 rupees, who does cleaning the house, clearing the vessels on a monthly basis. In US, you get per hour, it is roughly $31 plus insurance. So if you take $70 basis, it is roughly at 2,100 per hour. So obviously, these two are not comparable. So there is a purchasing power parity difference, particularly in service areas. Manufacturing goods, it is much easier to, relatively much easier, because they are tradable. Whereas these, my servant maid can't be sent to US. So these are not tradable. So non-tradable, there is a bigger problem. So that is why this PPP is used to adjust the levels of income for comparison purposes. So in the later period, actually last year around November, the G7 got only 36%, or rather had a 36% of the global GDP, whereas emerging markets have crossed 50%. This is the nature of the global economic crisis. It's not a crisis for us, let us be very clear to it. It's a crisis for G7. And most of you may be knowing G7 has become G20 actually. Now it is, India is also a member of the group. See, whenever there is a crisis, you must enlarge the group. It's very important to know. If you are doing a project or if you are doing a term paper or anything, include more people. Because the per capita blame will come down. And if you are doing very well, then reduce people, check out people, so that the credit will go to less number of people, right? This is, I'm sure most of you will be doing group work, right? At least it is very popular in my place. 3 or 4 people. At the end, 2 people will come and say that the third fellow has not put in any work at all. And normally I give the third fellow highest marks. Because he exhibited leadership quality. to identify two other fellows who will work for it. Anyhow, so the G7 has become G. But still the main table is only those 7 people. Let's be very clear. Our PM also goes for meeting. It will be one small stool will be put and he has to. The main table is still G7 only. Right? And that is what is the nature of the problem. The forecast says in another 10 years, the 36 will become 25%. 36 will become 25%, and obviously the other one will be around 70%. So the structure of the world economy is irretrievably changed. This is something which we have to internalize. It completely changed. Axis of economic power has shifted to east from the west. So if we get this very thoroughly, then we will see so many other developments around this. And many people, when some of us were telling from 2004 that the economic thing is shifting. But now the experts in US and Europe, they themselves are suggesting the same thing. So since they themselves are telling, it has to have some fact or truth underlying it, right? Because if we are telling, nobody is going to listen to that, right? So this is the type of a crisis. In 2008, somebody interviewed Business Channel and asked how long it will take to recover. I asked which one to recover? Crisis, sir. What crisis? No, sir. What is this? You are not even aware of that. Crisis. Crisis for whom? Crisis for Ireland, Greece, and Spain and Portugal. And that is called the global crisis. That's something very interesting. There is a crisis in Thailand. It is called Asian economic crisis. And there is a crisis in Argentina and Chile. It is called Latin American crisis. But when there is a crisis in Ireland, Greece, Portugal, Spain, now of course France and Italy fully involved in that, it is called a global economic. This is something very, very interesting. You see, the terminology is also very, very critical, how the terminology is used. So this is the, and when I was asked how long it will take to recover, 2008, I told 40 quarters it will take. And that girl was very sharp, 40 by 4, 10. So 10 years, sir, you are telling. But 40 by 4 is normally 10. Except in some exam situation under MIL, where it becomes 9 or 11 due to various tensions. 10. And after that, no channel ever came to me. This fellow is the, everybody is talking about, improvement, green shoot, and all that various terminology. Very recently, somebody, BBC Business Channel, they asked me, I told it will take 80 quarters. In 20 years, sir, 20 years you are telling. I told you. See, I am a teacher. Normally we don't say bad things. Even if a student makes 5 out of 100, I say there is a scope for improvement. Right? So that I can't tell you are a useless fellow. Because if he is, immediately it will be told I am useless. Contemporary thinking is if a student is not doing well, teacher is squarely responsible for it. So I won't tell him. Scope for, and terminology is also important. Somebody was submitting his assignment very delayed of late. So I asked that boy, my own student, why have you become lazy? He was very upset. He told, sir, don't call me lazy. That is not the word to be used. I asked him what? Sir, I am differentially motivated. For everything nowadays, there is an alternate use. You can't call somebody blind, you can't call somebody lame. For everything there is a, so like that, I told 80 quarter. Basically what it means is, this is not going to, this is something which I think it will take a long time for us to understand. And not only understand, internalize it. That this is not going to occur. That is the crux of the issue actually. The reason for it is not going to recover, we will just see that. But this is a great opportunity and advantage for us. But we are also jumping and telling we are in a crisis because we have decided we are global. And when we are global, when there is a global crisis, we are also in part of the globe. That is not the situation. There is a huge amount of this secular decline. See, till 1820, India and China had 50% of the global output. Every century, not just in 1820. First century AD, second century AD, like that, 16th century, 13th century, till 1820. If you look back, Angus Madison has done a massive work of 15,000 pages on this issue. He is the first one to say that India and China are not emerging market, they are re-emerging. They are re-emerging market, or they are retrieving where they were. Because if you say emerging market, it looks as if from nowhere they are coming. It is not true. So what took place in 1820 was simply two things. One is the colonialism, other one was the industrial revolution benefits. So that has been carried on, which comes to an end in 2020. It's a 200-year cycle, which is finding its own logical end. And some of you may be interested, purely aside, Aurobindo Ghosh, I am sure most of you would have heard his name, at least his Vande Mataram group should have heard. That's my regular student will ask, who is this Aurobindo sir and what is this? What's his problem? Like that, So, but you have heard of it. 1917, he talks in Calcutta, adjacent to Calcutta, Satpara. He says, 1917, kindly go back in time. No computer, no data mining, no data warehousing, no analytics, nothing. He says what started in 1820 will end in 2020. 1917. Phenomenal actually. So, of course, some people may say it is all coincidental, spurious correlations, whatever. But somebody could mention in 1917 with courage, or without any, you can't call him, where is your model? Where is the estimation? What is the error now? Nothing. He just told me, take it or leave it. 2020, he gave that time. And that's what it is. So first and foremost, this phenomenally interesting times we are in. Wherein the whole axis of economic power has shifted. So unless we comprehend it, and why has it happened is very simple. Why has it happened? Why not? Next. Yeah, next. Of course, this is the current position worldwide. Purchasing power parity basis, last year, in the month of November, China became #1 country. It's something very, very important to know. Globally today, first is China. Next is US, then India and Japan. This is in order. These are not per capita basis, kindly note. This is total income basis. Capita basis, we are nowhere, obviously. Denominator is so large. This is what is the position, sir, worldwide. This is the problem. Huge amount of indebtedness is by all these countries. Some of you who are doing finance or subject will know leverage. Massive leverage by these countries. You can see that already this data is something like February, March. Actually now it is much more. US is more than now 300% of its GDP. It is what tax. Our own Britain, I always call it, is more than 500% now. Why our own Britain? Sooner or later, we have to run that country. They are in very deep problem. They will tell us, please, someone, we did for you, so you should. They are in very serious. Some of you may be knowing already good chunk of their national health scheme, insurance, pension are all done by us here. Everything is outsourced. The only thing is remaining is the primary budget, taxation and some of these areas. And their army, all of that has to be managed. So you have a huge responsibility. Kindly remember that to run that island, right? Phenomenal amount. And when we say debt, what has happened to these countries? Very simple. There are three types of debt. One is called government debt. What in the jargon it is called sovereign debt. Sovereign debt. And that all governments incur. They borrow huge amount. And it is also considered to be what one can call default free. Sovereign debt they can always repay. Like India has got this Nasik press, which prints currency notes. So the government can print notes and give it back. There is absolutely no problem. So government can never, have it always has a default free debt. Greece is having the problem because they cannot print euro. They cannot print euro, nor they can print their own currency. They have surrendered the right to print their own currency. They have become part of the union. We will come to that. So this is the government debt. The second part of the debt is corporate debt. Big companies have huge amount of borrowing, typically from banks. Right? If I borrow 60 lakh to buy a flat, I worry every month. How do I manage my EMI? Right? If I borrow 600 crore, who worries? Who will? Bring up my wife, how is professor? How is So kindly note, larger is your borrowing, greater is the lender's worry. Not the borrower's. So large banks all borrowed huge amount, and then many a time they hand it over to the banks, which means government, finally government. I think all of you would definitely would know about the gentleman from my city, right? Who had this two products, right? And both the products take people high. That was his the only reason. And he is walking around happily, right? He owes some State Bank of India and others together something like 8,000 crores. He says, what is it? I don't know anything about it, right? But the most shameful part of it as Indians is, he is the lawmaker of this country. He is a member of the Rajya Sabha. The day he was declared willful defaulter, he should have been thrown out of that house. But nobody has done that. He is ugly. So being a lawmaker, right, huge amount of indebtedness. Like that, there are several others, but this is a classic case. Several others. They are all called too big to not fail, too big to jail. In India, it is always too big to jail. So that is the corporate portion of that. The third debt is actually the most dangerous and most something like your time bomb. That is the household debt. Huge amount of debt has been accumulated by the households in G7 countries. Because they have forgotten a simple word called saving. That 6-letter word has been removed from their dictionary. Delete. Gone. So their indebtedness is phenomenally very high. An average household, both for consumption debt, in terms of your credit card and other things. Other is in terms of educational loans. US has got a huge amount of educational loan debt. It used to be told in the past, around the 60s and 70s, education is the route for the poorest segment in US who are capable to move up the hierarchy and ladder. Not anymore. Today it is very, very expensive actually. Education has become anywhere 60,000, 70,000 type of dollars. And universities are finding it very difficult to run that. Many big US universities are now cutting down on their core faculty. They all work on what is known as the adjunct faculty, who come 200 miles in car and teach a course and go. Because it is much cheaper to get up at anywhere per course. Somebody comes even for 3,000 to 4,000. So that is the nature of the fundamental crisis there. Huge amount of educational loan. And in the context of employment situation not being very good, it becomes much more difficult for the children to repay the debt. The third debt is your house debt, what is known as the subprime mortgage. Everybody knows about it. You have a house for $100,000. You take a loan against it for 40,000 and then invest it in the share market. So the aggregate credit card limit used to be 11,000 sorry, 11 trillion US dollars. When their GDP was 15 trillion. Now it has been brought down to 8 trillion. So huge amount of households debt. Now, why the households have accumulated so much debt? After all, we have in India the largest saving households. We have some 32-36% saving. Of that, 80% comes from the households. Housewives are mainly responsible for economic growth of this country for the last 20 years. Every year after year, because of their savings, massive saving, and all the saving is channeled to banks, not to stock market. Substantial amount of saving goes into banks. For the share market, it may be 2 to 3%. But there, the households are faced with a huge amount of. Why the household debt has gone so much high? The answer is family as an institution is in deep decline. That is the fundamental issue. That's the crux of the issue actually. Why do people save? A lot of papers have come. One of the important motivation is family. You save for your children, you save for your grandchildren, you save for your spouse, you save for the uncertain future. But if there is family as an institution is in decline, there is no incentive for you to save. So like there is no tomorrow. So phenomenal amount of indebtedness on the households have come because of the decline of family. There are two forces in this. In the 60s and 70s, what we used to call joint family used to be, even in US actually, large family. And the business houses, kindly note, want small families. Business requires small families for their selling their product. If there are 17 people in a house, one refrigerator they may use, that's all. If there are 4 families of the 17, 4 refrigerators will be used. 17-member family may even use 2-3 soap only, not 17 soap. Sharing and carrying, right? But if there are 4 families, then it will get. So throughout the 80s and 90s, Europe and US propagated happy family means 2-member family, husband, wife. And of course, 2 kids and 1 dog and a car. Go back and see all the ads in the 80s and 90s. No happy family in US or Europe will have grandfather, grandmother, uncle, aunts. Now, it's a what is popularly known as you moved from the joint to nuclear family. Now what has happened in the last 10 years, from nuclear they have moved to proton family. Single parent family. That is the fundamental crisis in these economies. This is the household debt we were talking. Go to the next one. No problem. This is the rate. If you buy the book, you can read all this. This is the rate shown there. You can see almost all the G7 are all single digit, or maybe 8 or 10. You can see the India in the bottom. China is very similar. China is very similar. We have household saving is 22, 23 like that. Our saving is still phenomenally very high. Right? So, can go to that. Incidentally, so just go to the previous one. Massive amount of our saving comes from households. 80%. We talk so much about FDI and FII. We will come to that as part of Make in India. Every day morning, FDI, FII. You open any paper, FDI, FII. Like this, what is that called? Venkatesh Suprabhadam, morning, any channel, FDI, FII. FDI and FII put together has never exceeded 8% of our domestic investment. 92% has come from household saving. But no business channel I have ever seen interviewing an average Indian housewife who is solely responsible for our economic growth. But FII and FDI, so much is. FII and FDI are important, critical, let me remind you. But it is more like a pickle to curd rice. Many of you might know about curd rice, I'm sure. Right? It is like pickle to curd rice. But what we have done is we have converted that into the main dish. which it is not. Important thing for you to get any international acclaim is you should bash India. I tell you, that's very critical. If you bash India, you will get global recognition and acclaim. If you praise India, nobody is going to care about it. You must have courage to and write it in flowery English language. Because unless you write in English, you are not an intellectual. That is very important. So everywhere. Pushkar did that with a lot of history. He told this vicious cycle of poverty. He gave India as a major example. That is, India is poor, so its income is poor, saving is poor. Since saving is poor, investment will also be poor. And that investment is poor, income will continue like this. And some of them told there is no hope for countries like India. They told international basket case and other. The Rome Convention felt India somehow should reduce its population by 50%. Somehow, quote unquote, to get the point. Push them into Bay of Bengal or whatever it is. Now that time our saving rate was 7-8%. Now it is 32-33%. Now they are telling you are saving too much. There was a seminar, how to induce Indian women to spend. I was also wrongly invited. A lot of debate, and some surveys by some of these international fellows told that they all go to the mall and all these places, but they don't buy it. What they call footfall. Because they enjoy the air conditioning and local gossip. So how to make the spend? Like Singapore, for instance, our motto is Satyameva Jayate. I am sure most of you would know it, right? Singapore motto is shop till you drop. If you get down at Shanghai, that airport in Singapore, you shop till you drop. You must shop such a way that when you come out of the shop, you should follow. How to induce Indian women to I told simple, it won't happen. Reason is very simple. 85% of India is self-employed. This many people do not even recognize. Many people do not even understand. Only 15% of India is employed in organizations like government, state government, central government, public sector undertaking, and large companies. The remaining 85% is on their own, self-employed. What does it mean? At 60, you don't get any pension or anything. So for old age, you have to save. You have to make your own requirement. And same thing for health. If you are a retail trader, at 67 you want to go have a heart surgery or kidney transplant, you have to spend from your pocket. Unless you have been passed in the government or in large private sector, which gives you some benefits. Otherwise, you have to. So for your social security in old age, as well as for your health reason, you have to save. And education, believe me sir, lower you go, more it is expensive nowadays. UKG is more expensive than perhaps doing MBA in my college. Very expensive. Not only that, parents are interviewed, grandparents are interviewed, brackets are taken. For getting into UKG, it's very tough. Getting into our institution, you write that exam, and if you do well, you may. But there it is not like that. You require supports of the minister and this and that, and the kid too. And now, at least in Bangalore, some schools say both the parents should be graduates. This is another new. One of our neighbor, and that girl, unfortunately, she is not a graduate. She is only a +2. And so the school told you must be a. And she didn't tell this when she got married. That is another double marriage. He kept quiet. Who is asking original certificate? Right? Doesn't matter. Of course, India being India, it was helpful. Some intermediary fellow came and asked, what do you want, madam? I want a graduate offer. We will arrange for it. What kind of discussion took place? And he asked, what do you want? Science stream or art stream? He was not sure. Any stream is? See, these choices are given to you, right? And rates different. If you want to climb your BSc Physics, then rate is. Fortunately, he didn't say that whether you want IIT or no, that type of he got it finally, and then the point is, lower you go, and he was asked, the family was asked to 2 lakh to pay for a UKG seat, 50% of it in cash. Where from you get this? And kindly note, banks don't give loan for school education. They give it for higher. It's a funny thing. I am on the board of some banks. I always ask, foundation you don't want to give money, but you want for 4th and 5th floor. You give money, how do I construct my? School is desperate. School is not given, and this money has to be given, right? So there is a big thing. See, all over Asia, China and India are 2 countries where the mothers are seriously obsessed about their children's education. Everybody knows about it. Actually, in New York, this Taiwanese mother wrote a book called Tiger Mom. Some of you would have heard about it. It created such a huge controversy in US last year. She told how she brought up her child. Get up at morning 5 a.m., 5 to 6 yoga, 6 to 7 music, 7 to 8 dance, 8 to 9, spelling, then mathematics, like that, And on her refrigerator, she has pasted the schedule, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and this is how I brought up my. She published that in the form of a book which created a huge storm in US. Because they told, how can you do this? Do your freedom and independence. If the kid says, I don't want to get up, you will say, okay, choice is yours. Don't get up. But she told nothing to it. She has to get up. So the whole thing was a big clash, the way in which, and there were so many write-ups about Indian and Chinese moms, how they bring up their children. Right. So this is how this is in terms of. So women are obsessed. So one professor asked, why were women are so obsessed about kids' education? I told you don't know the Indian woman. Every Indian woman wants her kids to do better than her husband. Think about it. Because this fellow cannot be rectified. Cannot be improved. Nothing can be done. It's like an ambassador car, you can't sell it, you can't rectify, you can't repair it, nothing. What is the alternative? So sometimes they say actually to the kid, don't behave like Appa. Pretty well. He will say, no, Appa was a gold medalist. Bogus, all that. He's saying to Mr. Peppers are pending still. You don't know anything about it. Like that, the whole stress is. And the other day in a home, the father told that, then I asked the child, boy, which standard you are studying? Father told 6th standard. He told Appa, I am in 8th standard. 2 years he didn't even realize that his son had gone up. So, on an average, Indian women are very, very particular about their kids' education. And unfortunately, in India, price is equated to value. So, whichever school is charging maximum, that is considered to be the better school. So, for that, you have to have enough amount of saving. So, for old age, social security, for health, old age, and education at school level. Along with that, what are called samskaras, marriage, birth, death of relatives, friends, so many things. For everything you participate and spend money. Poorer segment do this much more than richer people. My plumber rushes to the village when he hears about the death of a person. And he spends a lot of money. I ask him, why do you do this? He says, if I don't do, who will do it for this, my community, my group. This is the nature of that. And of course, richer people may, just send an SMS, sorry to hear you have died. Hope that your soul rest in. That fellow won't even receive. Poorer segments are very active. So we have old age security, health reason, education of kids, and the 4th is samskara. And all these put together are not going to change in the next 2 decades. So we continue to be a large saving nation. What it implies is huge amount of our domestic investment requirement can come out of our domestic saving. This is what we have to clearly remember. It is not required that only it has to come from global forces or something. Actually, this is what we were telling. The crisis in G7 countries. More than 50% of the birth is outside marriage. Last year. The old time we used to call them as bastards. Not anymore. Because New York Times says this is the new normal. New normal. See, the Americans are fantastic in terms of coining new terminology. So they say this is new normal. It's a huge crisis actually. You see the right side, 10 to 19 years, 7% of the birth take place for girls were actually children. Children getting children. Here some, some faraway village in Rajasthan, 1 or 2 child marriage take place. Such a hue and cry, it comes in the national television. There it is a much more, it's unwed mothers. It's unwed. And in all this, you can see UK, Denmark, everywhere, about 50%. So that is the crisis. And what they call single parent family. It is not single parent, it's a single mother family actually. Even though the word used is single parent. Most of the time it is mom, which is saddled with these kids. Huge number of. So there is a massive amount of social crisis. So the government is stepping in. In UK they provide £200 per child to take care of it. So there is an incentive for them to have more children. Simple. 4 children mean £800. Whereas if you go for work there, it is £650. It's much better to have. So massive amount of, and most of these kids are unfortunately not controlled by their single moms. Single moms are not in a position to control the kids. There are a lot of studies which have established that between the age of 3 and 13, husband is always used as a controlling variable for the children. He is made to appear, don't do this, I will tell Appa, don't do this, all over the world. He is not necessarily the really controlling person, but he is protected as a. When the child grows up, he knows who is really. So the single parent family, you see in US, you see, Baltimore, Texas, last 3-4 months, you see flag off those places where there are local riots taking place. All of them have huge amount of single parent family. And among blacks it is 73%. Out of 100 children born for the blacks, 73 are born out of wedlock. It's a massive, humongous social crisis which they are facing. And that is why there is a huge need for the state to step in. There is no question of they saving it. Government has to step in. Very loosely calling, the families have been nationalized in these G7 countries. What does it mean? The regular task of the family has been taken over by the government. Old age people, old age home of the government. Young children without parents taken care by the government. So families have been nationalized, government is privatized. This won't work. This model won't work. And we are moving in the same direction. Let me alert you. We are moving in the same direction. The model which will not be working. So, to go further, Goldman Sachs, corresponding to that, youth unemployment is phenomenal in some of these countries. If you youth win in these countries, people who are aged 16 and 24. Very important. Well defined. Because in India, sometimes 46 is also youth, 45 is all that, we have age definition. 63 is youth. Yes, in Tamil Nadu, actually, ex-ruling party, 63 is the age of, he is the youth, president of the youth is very fluxy in India. 63 is youth, most of you are yet to be born. Right? But there it is very rigorous, 16 and 24. You can see there, the level of unemployment is phenomenally high. So basically Europe is sitting on a powder cake. Sitting on a powder cake. If the economy is not doing well, you tend to always blame the migrants. Everywhere in the world. The Bombay, some economic problem is there, immediately Bikharis are responsible. So like that everywhere people tend to blame the, that's a global phenomenon. So Europe is also earlier used to, and most of the migrants in Europe belong to Islamic faith. So what is happening is, the blaming the migrant is now turning into anti-Islam. That is that. And last 3-4 months, I am sure most of you will be seeing in television and newspaper, hordes of people are getting into Europe. Syria is getting empty, practically. Right? Every day 10,000 people are entering Europe. Every day. It is expected to reach something like 1.5 to 2 crores in the next few months. They are coming, and Europe is now becoming a fort. Everywhere they are erecting fences, they are putting border control. Where earlier they used to say anyone can, once you enter one European country you can, not anymore. Plus, thousands of them coming by ships, many a time they get unfortunately drowned. So there is a, so Europe is a combustible type of a situation it is sitting. And only one thing you remember, 2000 years, last 1000 years, written history, all wars started from Europe. Not Africa, not Asia. Your 100-year war, your crusades, your war, First World War, Second World War, everything started from Europe. So they are literally sitting on a powder cake. I won't give more than 2-3 years. But if you see our situation, Goldman, because if I say nobody is going to, this is another problem for them. What is called the additional. What is that additional problem? Europe had 25% of the global population during First World War. Now they have got 11%, and then in another 30 years it will be 1 to 2%. Europe is disappearing from the world map. One thing is good, my grandson at least did not mug up. Budapest is the capital of Hungary. Throughout my school days I did that. I didn't know Bhopal was the capital of Madhya Pradesh for a long time till I travelled by train to Delhi. But I knew Budapest was the capital of Hungary. And then the Sweden and Norway always used to confuse me. I wrote Sweden is the capital of Norway. Teacher told you are wrong. He never told what is right. Next exam I wrote Norway is the capital of. That was also. All that is nonsense. So if you are some amount of money, if you have got inclination, visit Europe, go there, come back. Before it, see some places, nice places. The two other countries which are disappearing are Japan and Russia. If Russia has got 100 people today, it will have 85 people only in another 10 years. Shrinking, we are not talking about reduction in the rate of growth, d square y by dx square. We are talking about actual shrinking. Japan is shrinking. Japan has got massive problem because it is not only shrinking, it is not accepting people from outside. It doesn't want to encourage migrants. There is a project called Project Aging by the King of Japan. I am also a member of it. Maybe I am also aging, that's the only reason. And every meeting, same thing. Their reproductive rate is coming nearly less than 1. Japanese girls don't want to get married. But all they get married, they want to get married at 30. Which means chances of having one child only is there. Every time, again, no immigration. Last meeting, 4 months ago, I told them, you will soon come in National Geography or Animal Planet, endangered. One last case when Japanese is visiting inside, everybody is over here. I'm serious about it, I'm not joking. They are declining. Every census they announce, so many lakhs the population has come down. You don't have to have statistical analysis. You go there, you will find huge park of the size of IIT. Beautifully maintained, but absolutely no children. Some 2 old people will be sitting in a massive, maintenance of such park will cost you phenomenal. They have huge amount of, simple thing, Meiji University where I am associated, these glass towers, they can't clean. The windows, they have created this wiper. You know, when the window, dust of the window increases beyond a point, automatically it senses and then it works like car. No need to operate it, all the windows, but not the tower, because they say the insurance we have to pay. See, in India, if you want to clean a tower, you tie a man with this thing, ask him to go, right? And then if things go wrong, you further. I think you all know, right? There is nothing big deal about it. But there, you have to take insurance. The premium for that, he says, we cannot afford to. Many other places, it's very dirty. It's a lot of dust and other things. They have a immigration counter, some 10 counters are there, only 4 or 5 are working. I am very familiar because I am from India. If there are 12 counters, only 3 will work, right? Others are all, or 1 will work. He will say, why do you only 1 will say, no, we have single window system. 12 windows, but only. And there also queues are lengthening. I asked my colleague, why is it? He says, as and when people retire, we don't have people to replace. So they have a massive problem. And people are living longer in most of these countries. Kindly note that. That's called longevity risk. At 60 today, Japan has got 86 at the life expectancy. 26 more years people are living. So there is a huge problem, either it is government funded pension or the pension funds. They have to earn and provide to these people. Right? In our case, you can see here, no, this is not, you can skip this. Yeah, before, yeah, if I FDI no, just so that. Yeah. So we were telling about our saving rate and our position. Our domestic saving is roughly 90 to 92%. One. Second is our infrastructure requirement is 1.4 trillion. This was 2010. Now it is roughly of the order of 2 trillion. We require 2 trillion US dollar to, like build all our ports, roads, bridges, and fill up all our potholes and everything. The Goldman Sachs says the domestic savings generated by Indian families will suffice and India would need minimal FDI. 2010. If I say nobody is going to, so that is why I have kept all this. Very important. And Goldman Sachs says, then you have to cut. A plumber from New York, if he comes and gives economic talk, there will be a huge crowd. In the end it will be told he is a plumber. It doesn't matter that he is white. So my hypothesis is a plumber from New York will be listened to more carefully than a professor from IIM on all these matters. So that is why I keep all this. To quote, nowadays I don't say anything. I send it to you, my friends, and then ask them to send it back. Any university, tall mountain, deep ocean, it doesn't matter. When it comes from there, then it has to be true. So there is a huge amount of possibilities of making our own based on our saving. That is what I want to stress. So Make in India need not necessarily significantly dependent on international, but still globally today if you look at it, funds are in search of markets. Markets are not in search of funds. So there is a 19 trillion US dollar fund available in the form of pension funds globally. 19 trillion, because the pension funds of Europe and US are so large, and they are looking for, and in India they have not yet come, they have not yet put even 500 million. So they are looking for, so you look at the world map today, see you can't invest in Middle East, the way things are turning. You can't invest much in Europe, right? The way things are turning. So what are the possibilities? India is one of the great possibilities. Large market, first thing. So it is not required for you to imitate or go along the old Chinese way of the 70s, where up to 40% of their output used to be exported to Europe and US. Most of the areas, automobiles and engineering and various other, China followed that. It's not required for, because our market itself is very large. My Chinese friend at Shanghai, we had a joint project. Dr. Yu, he always used to tell me, in China, it is made in China, but in India, it is made for India. It's a huge difference, actually, because you have exploited your market much better domestically. Almost all the automobile produced in India is by and large for domestic. So what is required is encourage more to be made in India, like your hardware, like your cell phones and but international companies will be too glad, because this market itself is very large. We have already got unbelievable 270, 300 million of smartphones and some 900 million or 870 million of regular cell phone type. So we have huge domestic market. This is something which we should remember, because whenever we talk about, people say, oh, you are going to make and export it to, we may export, but that's not the primary thing. Primary thing is our domestic market, which is relatively very, very large actually, significantly large. So most of the global companies would be interested. We have to leverage. Obviously, they are not going to, they will put a lot of conditions, don't tax us, don't do this to us, don't do that to us, But it is up to us to utilize, up to us to leverage on their strength. When Pepsi and Coke went to China, one of the simple condition put was, don't talk about Chinese civil rights, freedom of expression and other. My colleague always used to say, in your country you are discussing so much about freedom of expression. For us the problem is freedom after expression. A lot of difference between the two. We can also express anything, but after Pepsi and Coke went to China, you show me one government report of US criticizing human rights of China. One report. Very simple. China leveraged on their requirement. If you want to come, you come on our terms. So Walmart can come, absolutely no problem. But the US Congress has to meet and pass a resolution telling POK, Tibet, Western China, Northern Pakistan, everything belongs to India. US Congress passes a resolution like that, then you, no problem. Everything I mean only the lands, not the people. Don't the views, right? That's all. Hillary Clinton, 8 years was the board of director of Walmart. Kindly note, in US, the business and Congress and political leaders are completely aligned, completely together. So, they don't care about anything. Outside they may talk so many things. Finally, they care about ROI. And particularly the Republicans. They don't worry about other. If ROI is good, fine. What do you want? Okay, POK is yours, we will pass the resolution. But hello, Walmart. That's how they will. They are very, what you may loosely call, matlabi of the highest order. So this is we have to leverage on it. We have to find attraction and how to get it done. The third dimension of the issue is very so-called smaller businesses in India have a very large share of our national income. It's not just big companies. The listed companies, something like 8,000 are listed if I remember last count. Half of them are not even traded last year. They call so-called Abhimanyu in the Indian share bazaar. Abhimanyu, I am sure most of you would have heard, right? No? Yes. That's very, because in my class they will know who is this Abhimanyu sir. One fellow will say is a new actor who has come. All that confusion will be there. So here at least many are, I think you all belong to the ACK generation. Amar Chitra, right? My students are neither here nor there. ACK now, not the Chopra, that serial, it came in the TV. So when you fall between the two, it is a problem. But All these companies put together may not cross something like, we have to again leverage on it. And many of the small businesses can be encouraged actually, which we don't do. The credit available to them is significantly getting reduced in spite of inclusive growth and other. It's not getting anything bigger. There are 700 clusters in India. As part of doing this book, I visited some 90 clusters there. And all these clusters, you have Surat diamonds, you have Tirupur garments, you have Sivagasi, crackers and printing, so many areas. Then Jalandhar, sports goods, Agra leather, so many places. All these clusters are caste clusters. And everywhere one particular caste is activating. And it's one of the great strengths for them in terms of credit, in terms of capital, in terms of, actually caste is a very huge social capital in India. Very large social capital in India. You go to Antwerp in Belgium, the diamond trade today is controlled by a small group called Malankar James. Very small group, microscopic group. They have 70 to 75% of the global diamond trade. Jews used to have 80% till 90s. Now it has reversed. Wall Street Journal wrote a beautiful article. First time in the world history, right, these Palantir James have defeated Jews in business without violence. That's very important. Jews have always been defeated, but with violence. They were killed, they were mangled. But this is and similarly the West Coast you see, the entire West Coast you see, Kadua Patel, they own most of the motels in the West Coast of US. Every third motel is owned by a Patel from here. Now they want to enter into trucking business. What I want to stress is, all these clusters are caste related clusters. There is one in Tirupur nearby. If you go there actually, I think just go above, not saving care, it doesn't come. Not employment, no. No, next. Yeah, this. Actually, here again, when I say something, World Bank itself, World Development Report, 2002, page 175 to 178. If you read, they have a huge discussion about how the governors of Tirupur have converted that into a global hub. It's a phenomenal. And again, between governors there is a buyer, credit, and if there is a failure of any business, others step in. It's a massive social capital. There is one Armstrong Aurangzeb. He was born on the day when Armstrong stepped on the moon. He runs his Tirupur. He has got some turnover, maybe 2,000 crore. He a very simple man with the dhoti, and mostly he speaks Tamil. So he was coming from Paris. First class, Air France. He travels every fortnight. He is one of the commercially most valuable customers. I was also coming. I was coming in khaki class. But we were talking to, and I asked him, how do you manage your, doesn't know English. He told me nicely, Professor, in Paris also people don't know English. I love that. And most of these clusters which are doing business, people are only 10th class or 11th class. In India, there is an inverse relationship between entrepreneurship and seriously, no joke. Because more and more you are educated, more and more you become risk averse. You do analysis, you do then modeling, you do this, and then you come out, success, failure, all these things. Right? Like, of course, nowadays so many people are claiming they are what you call startups. Everybody is a startup. Incubator, startup. What is your startup? He says, my startup is to completely, what do you call? Word I am not getting. Anyhow, not destroying, something equivalent to it. The startup will do the destruction. That is fine, but what is your startup doing? Destruction. You want to? And then it says, give some funds. Everybody is there. This is a very recent development, last maybe 5 to 8 years, where highly educated people are jumping into these areas. Otherwise, traditionally, all these are done by, and these constitute approximately 50% of our GDP. 50% of our GDP. See, our GDP can be classified very simply. Roughly 20% is government, 18% to be more precise. 18% is agriculture. So 18 plus 18, 36. So this is 50. 86. 14% is your corporate sector. All, your HLL, Tata, Tiscos and all these things are 18. 14%. That's all our. Now, what we have to do to make the Make in India a big success is make ease of business for these people. Not for large companies and other things. They will manage on their own. These are the ones which, and these are the ones which are constrained by phenomenal number of regulations at the state level. At the state level. You want to have a power connection, you want to have water connection. Then there is something called a Shops and Establishment Act. I do not know how many of you have heard about it. It's a tricky one, 900 to 1000 pages. Shops and Establishment Act. It says all shops should have sunshine. We are talking about retail shop. It should have sunshine. It should have seating arrangement. It should not have rats. And it should have a conducive surrounding. Every day I go to buy bread in near my home at Bangalore. Shop is there, I am here. In between there is an open drainage. And I give money and he gives. It's happening for the last, I don't know how many years. Right? If that act is to be followed, one minister told me in Karnataka, the whole shops have to be closed. Why do you have that act? Oh, that was brought by US and Europe and some of your students came and MBS came and told we must have this. So we also. What about, see, very important in India is you have lot of act. Nobody cares about implementing it. It doesn't matter. See, in Europe and US, if an act is passed, automatically it implies it has to be followed. That's why people make such a nuisance of themselves for noise before an act is. Here it is not like that. Take care of it, right? Because here, even if you are stopped near a signal, immediate question you ask, do you know who is my father? And why ask the cop here? You have to go and ask your mom, what is it? You know, why? That fellow may not know anything. So our attitude is different. So the Shops and Establishment Act, what is the ultimate result of it is, couple of inspectors go and collect money. Very simple. Most of the acts in India are tools for extortion of bribery. I am telling it without any, what one can call, bombs. Anyone quote me. Most of the acts are tools for extraction of. So there is another one, Food and Adulteration Act. Many of you might have heard about it. Food and Adulteration Act. You can go to the hotel and then what is happening every week I see many of my known fellows, they give 500 rupees or something in an envelope. I ask him, why do you give money? Because he says they have draconian power. He can close my hotel. Saying that, he found a cockroach in my dosa. So I was in a committee asked, why do you have this at all? How many people have died in Bangalore eating in all these restaurants? They told nobody has died, but stomach ache should go. Even at home, if you eat, you get. So what do we do, sir? I told, scrap this act. They were shocked actually. Then what about regulatory? I told, forget about regulatory framework. These days, social media is so much. The girl finds dosa and cockroach, immediately she will take a selfie of dosa and and then of course transport also will come along with cockroach. It will be circulated and it will go, I am sure, viral, right? So many, and then this particular, hotel, this would be hotel or something. That is enough. People won't go. Social pressure is much more precious. Social consent is much more precious, and that is how our society is traditionally organized. And there was day before yesterday, this Ganesh Puja was there. In my locality, I am telling, there are 2 or 3 Muslims and others who have these non-veg shops. Believe me, sir, there is no law, nothing. They just close the shop purely as a consideration to the people around. That's all. There is no need for a big law. This is how our society has been functioning throughout our times. Why? I asked him, why do you close? No, sir, you are all there. You are all doing this. And why? There is no need for. It's one day, people can, and many other people are also not eating on this day. This non-veg. All the three. So same way, this Food and Adulteration Act is a racket. Lot of thing is because they can make money. There are only 6 inspectors in our city. They want to decrease it. There is so much protest. No, it's a really technical job and all things. You know why? You get a fund. If 6 become 20, per capita become. This is what I am saying. Like that, so many acts are there. Or if you want to do a business, actually, there is no point in focusing on Delhi-centric issues. Share market, international. What you want to focus is domestic, state level, phenomenal number of obstacles are there. And these are not implemented or finally what happened, there is some more cash is exchanged. And that is loaded to the product price. Don't tell me the small businesses can afford to provide bribe and keep quiet. No, they have to include it in your the dosa which I may be getting for 30 rupees might have cost only 28 rupees if all these are not done. So most important is, one is the impact on the final customer market. Second is it what one can call, it completely dissuades you from starting any business, doing anything. So Make in India has to happen. It has to start at the lowest level in terms of regulatory ease. If you want water, I should be able to get the connection. The day I open the tap and I get my water and switch on the light and get the light, that day only I will say we have arrived. Till then, sorting out our issues. They are capable of sorting out our problems. Our market is very, very large. This we have to remember. And West is on the decline. West is on a decline is a good news for us. Right? Even though one shouldn't be talking like that and other thing, don't tell. West is on a decline is a good news for the East. East will see some rise for maybe 150, 200. That is going to take. So with that, so for you all, future is very bright, and you have to run countries. I have told you also. Okay, be full of smiles. Right? Compared to the times we entered into the labor force, queue for rice and queue for coffee powder, queue for milk, and milk we have to go the previous night and stand in the queue. You won't even believe that. I have done that. Right? But not now. Today, any shop you go, anytime you pick up milk. So things have dramatically altered, and we have not yet come to a situation. Our bureaucrats, our policy makers are all born in the era of scarcity. None of them is. So their aptitude, their way of looking at things is only from the era of scarcity. We have $320 billion as our foreign exchange reserves. Nothing to worry. Every year we get $70 billion from abroad as remittances by fitter, plumber, carpenter, painter, mason from these Middle East countries. 70 billion is also our export by software. But everybody talks about software export, nobody talks about this inflow by these plumbers and carpenters. So we have phenomenal amount of global thrust. And in terms of gold, we have got huge amount of resources available with individual families, not with government. Not with government, with the individual women actually. That is another major source of strength for us actually. So you don't have to have any qualms or worries at all, right? And when you enter into the workforce, you are entering into a completely different genre and a different type of a situation. And I wish you all the best. I'm sure you will do very well, right? Thank you. So if you have any questions, and I have shown my, the first slide you show, my Gmail is there in case somebody wants to have a further, my Gmail and my web page is also there. First one. Yeah. Some of you may have known about Twitter. I am also on Twitter. That is only the first RYZ 2000, right? And when you go to my web page or you will find a photo which is relatively younger. I have not changed it. That's the only thing. Don't get suddenly panicked. You saw an old fellow and this photo here. Young fellow. My student told to keep photo of some Priyanka Chopra. What they call it? There will be more pixels. Eyeballs will be there. But I don't know. They will come and hit me only. Because they will find out that this fellow is not, that it's a parody account or something. So you can write to me, and you can also go to that wordpress.com to see some of the articles. Yeah, somebody was raising the hand. Sorry. Yourself?
Namaste.
Yeah,
Thank you.
okay.
Thank you for your talk, sir. So my first question is, actually I talked with my grandfather. He has 5 sons and a village. In my village everyone has more than 3 kids. So they, at that time they are farmers and they manage with even 5 kids. Recently my uncle, and he is very keen and he took only 1 kid, and he said that it is very tough to manage with that, even to look after 1 kid. Look after 1 kid. Manage one kid. One child.
Okay.
So in the smart cities and employment, which direction are we going actually? Means it's comfortable or uncomfortable? Actually they are very comfortable even with 5 kids, and even there are 3 to 4 guests every day in their families. So now this is in other way.
Managing in terms of what? Managing the land and other thing, or?
Family management.
Huh?
Family management.
Family management with only 1 child. He's finding it tough.
Now he is saying that one with 60,000 he is earning, but he says that okay, even it is this is good for him.
Yeah, sometimes what happens when there are 7, 8 kids, the kids take care of themselves. Let us be kid, become the helper for the younger kids. And expenses are also less. You know why? I was never got a new shirt. It is always passed on from the elder to 1 size more, 1 size less. It doesn't really. In those days, people were not very particular, right? So that is also an advantage. You don't have to, right? Yeah.
So my name is Shwetambar Das. I am from Physics Department. So it's a little different question than the topic of the talk. You said that you will talk about the Greece crisis. Since I am from physics background, I want to have some perspective from you so that I can...
Very simple, sir. Greece crisis is very simple in 2 sentences. 80% of the revenue earned by Greece government is spent on pension and salaries of its employees. Right? Second is their tax, what is equivalent to what we are discussing now, GST. It is 23%. They cannot increase it anymore. Already people are not paying taxes in Greece. No action is taken. Simple thing like parking, ticket is issued, but nobody pays the fine. So there is a public disenchantment. Greece has been borrowing left and right for a long period of time. Now there is a huge problem. It is part of the euro. It cannot manage its budget. So the European Commercial Bank is giving money to Greece on the right hand, and on the left hand collecting it back for the past amounts. Right? So it it's in a, it's in between ICU and mortuary. Right? It's not going to come out or anything any sooner. Maybe another couple of months, some more blending will be done. But Germany and others who are sustaining Greece, there is a huge amount of opposition within Germany. They are telling why the hell we should continue to support these people. Right? So beyond a point, no state can sustain itself in terms of providing for the benefit of its exclusively for its employees and others. Right? This gratis based. India also, incidentally, there was a time in which 60% of our revenue was going for salary and wages of many state governments. But we moved on 1/1/2004 from what is called the defined benefit to defined contribution. In India, there is no pension now anymore, anybody. You have to pay 10%, government will pay 10%, and it is put it into a fund. And whatever it grows, you will get it at the time of your retirement, right? But countries like Greece and others did not go for such a solution. Because there was a powerful opposition by union and others. Same thing, some of the US companies, your Chrysler, your General Motors, and most of them were not shifting from one form. At a point of time, Ford Motor Company, for every car sold, they were making something like $170 to $200. Of that, 140 to 150 were going for paying pension. Same thing, British Airways. British Airways actually had the original slogan, we also fly aircrafts. The primary purpose of British Airways is providing pension for its retired employees. Right? And then some Indian company also told we also make steel. Right? This is not an easy type of a thing to come out. Right? Yeah.
Good evening, sir. My name is Rohit. I am actually a research school from Mechanical Engineering Department. I am a research school in Mechanical Engineering Department. Nearly 4,000 research scholars are there in IIT. So my question is, can research support Make in India and how? My question is, can research going on in any IIT and any research institutions can support Make in India and how?
Oh, research can and should facilitate Make in India, but with a caveat. Research has to be contextual. This is very, very critical. Whether it is IIT or whether it is IIM or whether it is other engineering colleges, if the research is not contextual, it is not going to facilitate. If it is only replicating, some models which have been tested in Texas or which have been tested in Arizona, and then we retest it here, that is not going to be of much use. Research has to be contextual and specific to our requirement. It will take some time. It will take some time because currently there is not much incentive for doing it. Contextual research. Second is many of the institutions, the existing researchers and others would like you to replicate the research so that you get your what one can call PhD or whatever it is much faster, right? So the research will be definitely, and I am sure now what is happening is quite a number of smaller, the so-called startups and other things are getting tied up with research activities, and they would like to have result-oriented and contextual. Contextual, I mean Indian context, how it will be facilitated. Then it will be having a spin-off attempt, right? Just abstract type of research at this point of time is not going to be very useful to business and industry, right? This is what most of the research what we are doing is only testing what has already been tested. Something has been tested there, whether that works good here also. Hypothesis 1 that is holding, hypothesis 2 that's not holding, and then we conclude it doesn't work. Yes, somebody else there. Just
I am Kasi. I am working in a non-owned manufacturing company. It's Make in India concept I am asking. The same product importing, there is no tax. If my product is 15% tax.
Yeah.
So I am very, very difficult to sell it in the market. So Make in India, where it will fit?
This is a very larger issue after we signed and got into the WTO. Many of the product lines, we significantly reduced our customs duty. We used to have 120% another thing, we brought it down as per the global agreement, right? So there is a huge amount of issue in terms of the cost, right? So it is not only for your product.
No. In this case, can we write in the PM office to how we can come out? Can we write a letter or something like that?
No, writing letter another thing. But it is known, it is a well-known thing, but government is very serious about it actually. Now what is the mechanism of encouraging the domestic market? But some product, like for instance, we used to import significant amount of electrical and other goods from China. Actually, our current account deficit, became very large because it's much easier to import rather than make it. But slowly, what is happening is many of these lines, people feel what we got from China is not up to requirement or standard. Even a simple thing like battery and these radios and so many other things, chargers and other things. Slowly, that China, what one can call, you may call it as obsession or passion, is coming down. So one is quality type of other is, of course, we can't arbitrarily increase significantly our customs rate. What we can do is facilitate the domestic manufacturer by significantly reducing the excise rate. That is what we have to do. For that, we don't have to worry about revenue. We need not worry about revenue because there are 64 ministries at the center. I feel 7 to 8 is more than enough. All others are bunked out. I am telling you, why we require an INB minister? I can't figure it out. One minister, information, going and giving a prize to a film actress. She is the best actress. Why government of India should worry who is the best actress and who is not a best actress? Same thing about history. Same thing about some book somebody has written is the very authority on the book. Sahitya Academy. Why should Sahitya Academy worry? Public will buy large numbers and society. Oscar is not conducted by Obama. We never, none of the European countries. This is the old Stalin mindset. Stalinist Nehruvian mindset, where government will recognize you as a authority on something. Government recognizing somebody as something itself is a contradiction in terms. Who are they to recognize? The government says somebody is a great actor, I will reject it because it's a terrible thing actually. You mean those bureaucrats? You get the point. We can slash the government phenomenally. This is my one-point program. Wherever I go, I encourage people. I have been telling them, but people are so, frightened. Because nobody wants to. And why do we have an education ministry in Tamil Nadu or any state for that matter and one at the center? Tell me one good reason. There is an agriculture ministry, there also. Since there is an agriculture minister, there is an irrigation. And one minister for small irrigation, one minister for large irrigation. All huge amount of cutting down of our expenditure can be done by reducing the size of the government. We have to have a lean but a effective government. No point in having, but a number of ministries are wasted. And all of them are what I call the sponge, helping the poor, helping the thing, helping this fellow. Why should government help all these fellows? Give employment, generate huge employment. They will then earn their food. Child and women's welfare, then cattle welfare, then commission, plenty of commission, rights. Everything is rights in India today. Rights for the cockroaches, rights for plants, rights for women's rights. All are rights. Nobody talks about duty anymore. All these can be good. You know one thing? My back of the envelope suggests 30 to 40,000 crore annually we will save by dispensing with all this. You can keep these employees, pay them also, but don't come to office or be at home. Don't disturb. Same thing, state government. Huge number of departments and nobody seems to think about it even. The amount of departments we have got here in state government. Lots of them are gadget, not required. Why do we have to, and they are supposed to be helping everything has to be from the government. Helping the child, helping. Other day there was a television interview, one child was asked here in Tamil, right, who is giving you education? The child told Amma, not our mother, don't confuse. It's a very dangerous thing actually, I am telling you. After 10 years, sovereignty of the family will be lost. Kids will think that government is only doing everything for them. In terms of bags, books, food, the parents will be looked at with contempt by the children. I'm telling you seriously. Because they are not doing anything. What are they doing? And other than producing this. From birth onwards, the child is slowly getting into a habit of thinking that the government is wholesale supporter and provider for the, and that is what I am telling you. This can be cut. Huge amount can be cut. And absolutely there is no need for it. Gratis based sponge type. And here in Tamil Nadu it is carried to the other extreme. From men go to Tasman, spend money, and that money is used by government to give it to the woman for mixie and the husband and wife equilibrium. Husband is rooted and wife is happy. This cannot be such. So I think all of us should seriously and sincerely ask for reduction in the size of the government. Don't ask for increasing taxes or increasing revenue. Revenue increase is not a solution. Massive amount of reduction can be made in taxes, in terms of expenditure. For instance, I will give you a simple example about our own institute. Till 92, we were given by the government, both for capital and revenue. That is for building and as well as for 2002, this 92, this capital was stopped. No more money for revenue was stopped, capital was stopped. Now 2002, in this last 5 years, no money is given to us, both on capital and revenue. Zero. None of us have got closed. Right? We increased here and there, some fee was increased here, some more executive programs are undertaken. Some methods we have to evolve to manage ourselves. There is no need for, so the government has to cut down. And then they can reduce the excise, help the local entrepreneur. And that is the solution, actually. And local entrepreneur can only be helped if make or buy decision. Buy is more attractive than make. He will buy from global source. If you have a customs duty of 10%, and if he has to bring it in at $50, and domestically if he has to produce and sell it at $60, why would he have to do it? It has to go hand in. One attraction of Make in India by entrepreneurs like you is, you may know the local context and local situation. So you may be able to tailor your services or product for the local needs. So reduction of government expenditure is a sine qua non for our growth. We need leaner but efficient government, not a massive one. Right? Anybody else, sir? Oh, there are many
We'll
more
take one
hands.
last question.
When does your dinner start?
Hello sir, my name is Arjun, and for past 1 hour we were like making a lot of fun out of best. But don't you think they'll be taking some measures at least in terms of technology and military to leverage themselves to at least sustain from their pathetic state?
Sorry?
I mean the West. We were talking a lot about that the West is not doing well. So at least they. Don't you think at least they will be doing something with technology and military to sustain themselves? Like get back to a better position.
West.
Yeah.
No, let's not confuse. West is not a homogeneous entity. Huge problems are faced by Europe. US is still a dominant in technology. Again, US is a very amorphous.